Good morning, students. Today we will learn something totally new in grammar, that is information transfer. Now, what is information transfer? Information transfer is a writing skill, so it's part of writing skill. Like how you have your essays, your letters, your uh, dialogues. So it is part of this writing skill. It is of two types. If a paragraph is given, then we have to convert it into diagrammatical table or graph. Here means it is of two types in the sense that it is from the verbal to the non-verbal or the non-verbal to the verbal form. Okay. Now, verbal form would be something in the form of a paragraph which you can read in words, just as I am doing now. Yes, like you're reading your story, you're reading a poem, that is your verbal form. Yes, when it's non-verbal form, it's in the form of this. It's in the form of figures, in the form of diagrams, in the form of tables, in the form of graphs. Okay, so that is non-verbal. Verbal is like this in the form of words given. So the two ways you have to do this information transfer is one is from verbal to non-verbal and from non-verbal to verbal. Okay, so let me just continue reading. What are the many non-formal, non-verbal forms of information? Could be graph, pie diagram, tree diagram, web diagram, flow chart, and many other forms are there. Okay. Now, from all these forms, I will be teaching you the tree diagram, web diagram. You'll already know. You'll are doing it when I do your lessons. It is part of your lessons in tree web diagram, and I'm going to teach you flow chart. So you'll already know web diagram, but I will still do it again, and you will learn flow chart and tree diagram. The rest you will learn next year. Okay. So I'll be teaching you all both to make verbal into non-verbal and non-verbal into verbal. Okay. So let me read. Flow chart or any other form, then we have to convert it into a paragraph. So if it's given in the form of a figure, a table, a graph or a diagram, you will convert it into a paragraph. Generally, information transfer must be short and simple. Generally, it's not needed that it has to be very very long. It can be short and simple. Now let's see what a web diagram is. You'll know what a web diagram is because you'll have done it many times when I'm doing your comprehension. Like yes, like say the qualities of a good person, that will be in the center, and then around it you will have the good qualities like being honest, being hardworking, being sincere. Okay, so it's just looking like a web. That's why it's called a web diagram. You will have the main heading or the title, what the web diagram is about in the center. Okay, now what are you talking about in this web diagram? That will be in the center. And around it, like a web, you will have the other points related to that main title or the heading. Clear? Now let's see the first example. Now here what I have done is I've given you the paragraph and you have to put it into the form of a diagram, that is a web diagram. Draw a web diagram on books based on the information given in the paragraph. Now one very 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 important thing you have to remember is every diagram has to have a title. Yes. So what is the diagram? The main point about. What is the main point on this diagram? That should be your title. Clear? Now over here I have purposely not given any title. So you have to know now by reading this. Sometimes in this question they will give you. Okay, that write a draw a web diagram based on this. So you know what is your main point. Sometimes they will not give you. They'll just say read the paragraph and draw a web diagram. So you have to analyze after reading the passage what the title will be, what the passage is about. Clear? So very very important. You have to have a title. Now in a web diagram, in the passage there will be a title. In your web diagram there will not be a title because the center of your web diagram is the title. Now as you see here books. this is your title. Here you can write as anything else. Books, man's best friend. Okay. So here they have told you even in the question. See, in the question also it's mentioned on books, web diagram on books. So your main title will be here books. Clear? So now let's read the passage. Books, they say, are man's best friend. They never let you feel bored and are always waiting to be opened and read. They can be a great source of inspiration when we read the life stories or biographies of famous men and women. So there you got the first one, that they are a great source of inspiration. Okay, so yeah, so they are inspiring, inspirational. And they are a tool for teaching. So here they are a tool for teaching. Second point, and a great source of knowledge. So third point, they also give us, impart us with knowledge. Reading the books written by great scientists and thinkers can motivate. Next point, you know what does it do? It motivates us to do the unthinkable. But most of the time, they simply are, this is not as, this will be as, are a source of pleasure and keep us in good spirits. So the last thing is they are a source of pleasure. So what are the main, so many points? Now you put all these points that I pointed out to you around this. See here, knowledge, inspiration, teaching, motivate and pleasure. So all these are the points that you got from this passage and put it into this diagram. Now, not necessarily this diagram will be drawn. The diagram will not be drawn. Sometimes you could just get this passage. So, you have to be careful to find out. Supposing you were not careful and you thought that there are only 4 points, you missed out 1 point. You will get less marks. Clear? So, when you're reading this, you have to underline what you just, as you're doing, you think what are the points, just underline them. So when you're drawing your diagram, you know what are the main points that you have to put into the web. Clear? Okay, now let's go to the one the other way around, that's non-verbal to verbal. Translate the information given in the web diagram into a paragraph. So here you can see what is the main point. The paragraph should be about the importance of regular exercise. Okay, so now what are the different attributes over here? Contributes to overall well-being, keeps us fit, keeps us agile, increases our efficiency, adds to our capacity to work, helps us remain active, contributes to our self-confidence and keeps diseases at bay. So now you can decide, but it is very important once you get this web diagram, decide from where you will start. Okay, decide from where you will start. Now see, contributes to overall being, you will not start from here. This will come last. After you mention all the rest of it, then this will come. So you should use a little bit of your common sense and thinking capacity to judge which of these points you will write first. Now, as you finish writing each point, sometimes maybe you started with this, then you went to this, then you go, so you may miss out a point. So as you finish, just make a tick. Okay, this is over. Next one, make a tick. Over. Then I wrote this point, make a tick. Okay, so you're not missing out on any points. And then put this all in the form of sentences and make it into a paragraph. Now the answer. It is important to make regular exercise and physical activity a part of your daily routine. So you don't just start exercises good. You put something of your own in that. Clear? Don't just write exactly what's in that. Put something a little bit of your own. Not too much that doesn't become too long, but add a little bit of your own. Exercise by benefits us in innumerable ways. Innumerable means which you cannot count, number, you cannot number. Exercising regularly keeps us fit and agile. Being agile will also we also remain active, and thus it increases our capacity to work. So I put here, see, first one is exercise fit and agile. First thing, two, then being, because of that you remain active and increase your capacity to work. Now connecting to this contributes to us increasing our efficiency in the work that we do. So increase your capacity to work, increases your efficiency to work. It's how well you do your work. And this is how much of work you do. So your the quantity of work will increase, also the quality of work will increase. All this leads to an increase in our self-confidence. So because of all this, your self-confidence will increase. See, I could have also put in over here, increase your self-confidence tremendously. I could have put in an adjective. Okay, increase your self-confidence quite a bit. Anything you can add if you want to. Most importantly, it keeps diseases at bay, thus contributing to our overall well-being. So, every point was included here, diseases that bay, and then you say overall. Okay, so it's high time we begin exercising on a regular basis and thus improve our lifestyle. So, I see here I added my own point to begin with and my own summary of the whole thing at the end. That's the way you should write. Clear? Okay, now we move on to the next. Now here you saw what the web diagram was looking like a web. Now when you talk of a flow chart, it's basically like a river. A river flows, correct? Now a river can flow in any direction. Maybe it will just go straight like this, a little bit wobbly here and there. Or it may go like this, from here, then go down, then go here, then go down, then go here, then go down, then go here. Okay, so this is the way your flowchart should be. Now in your web diagram you saw from one center point all the points spread out all around. Whereas from a flow chart there will be from one point to another point, no two more points. One point to another point, again from that point to another point, again from that point to another point. So one point at a time it moves ahead. Clear? Like a river, like from here, an arrow then here, an arrow then here, an arrow then here, one more arrow and here. So the arrow is pointing only to one box or one information written at a time. Clear? Now I just told you, you can put it in many forms. You can go straight or you can go in a curved manner like a river. So let's read this. Transfer the given information into a flowchart. Now here see the title, manufacture of paper. So you know what your title should be. Did they tell anything over here? No. But they gave it over here. Supposing they are not given it over here, you would have to read this para and then realize what the or just deduce what the title should be. Paper is chiefly used for writing. The raw material used in the manufacture of paper is wood, grass, bamboo and rags. There are several processes by which the raw material is converted into pulp. Most commonly, the raw material is cut into pieces and then immersed in water to convert it into pulp. So you make the paper soft by soaking it, immersing it in water so it becomes into a pulp, it becomes soft. The pulp is then mixed with lime for whitening it. So all the dirt or whatever marks are there on the paper will go away. This pulp and lime mixture is boiled at high temperature. The pulp is next passed through wire meshes. What do you say, jali? Okay. The paper sheets are removed from the mesh while it is still wet. These wet sheets are passed over heated rollers to remove the water and the paper is dried so as to make thin sheets of paper. So let's see this information how is put in the flowchart form. So as you see here, started off with the title. This is very important because if you don't write the title, you are going to miss your marks and even in spite of the whole diagram being correct. So you have to always write your title. Now start with the first process, that is the raw material. So what are the raw materials? You write with the raw material and mention them. Raw material, wood, grass, bamboo, rags. Now what is done to the raw material? So this is the next step. So you make an arrow, cut into pieces and immersed in water and made into pulp. Now here you could, this is something I just picked up from the net because I was really struggling to make the so many um, charts and all. So I just picked up one or two ready-made from the net. So especially the diagrams, yes. So now here you could have divided this into two parts, like cut into pieces could be one box, and then make another arrow immersed in water and made into pulp. Okay, now this is made very small, so they just made 3 or 4 boxes over here. You could make it longer, it would create a better impression. So here you could cut into pieces. This becomes one box, and next box will be immersed in water and made into pulp. Yeah, that's the next step. So after it's made into pulp, what is the next step? You make another arrow. See, here you observe all the arrows from one box to another box. Only one arrow is connecting. No arrows. From here there is no arrow. From this side there is no more arrow. In one direction. Here one arrow going down. Here one arrow going down. Here one arrow going down. Okay. Now what is the next step? Mixed with lime for whitening. So this you can again divide into two parts. Mixed with lime for whitening. And make one arrow and write pulp is boiled and passed through wire meshes. Okay, so you can divide it into two parts if you want, even into three parts. Mixed with lime and whitening, one part. Pulp is boiled, second part. Passed through wire meshes, third part. Okay, but each part will connect the other part with only one arrow. Now here what you get after that? Wet paper. What do they do to the wet paper after that? Passed over heated rolls and thin sheets of paper is made. Clear? Okay. So now we put the paragraph into the flow chart or the non-verbal form. Now next one we go to transfer the information given in the flow chart in the paragraph form and write. So you see the flow chart and then you will write it in the form of words. Now here I have purposely taken a web diagram which is curved, not straight. Okay, so this is what I was telling you, how not just straight, you can even go curved. If now it went from here till here till here, then here one arrow going down, then here. Now if this was not the last, if there were more points, you would make one arrow from here and go down and write your next point here, continue. Okay, so now let's read the cycle of water. So you know what is your title. Sun rays absorb water from seas, streams, rivers. It turns into what? Water vapor. And what happens to the water vapor? It rises. So you put it in the second box. What happens? The higher it goes, the colder it becomes. Then it condenses into clouds and then becomes too heavy to hold water. And then what happens? It falls on the earth as rain. So you put this whole thing in the form of a paragraph. Okay. Answer. It is common knowledge that the sun rays absorb water from the surface of the earth. So here I just said you have to add something of your own, and at least in the beginning and the end. Namely seas, streams, rivers and other such water bodies. This gets converted into water vapor and thus rises. As it goes higher, it becomes cooler and begins to move. Various particles of vapor collect together and condense to form clouds, which, when become too heavy, are difficult to sustain. The condensed vapor in these clouds then comes down in the form of rain and fills the various water bodies, from where once again it evaporates with the heat of the sun, and thus the cycle of water is maintained. Clear? Okay, now we go to your homework. Draw a flow chart based on the following paragraph showing the growth and journey of tea from the plantation to our homes. So, what will be your name of your flow chart? Journey of tea. This will be your title. Okay. Many of the world's best tea estates are located on hill slopes at elevations of up to 1,500 meters. It is said that the tea plants grow slowly and acquire a richer flavor at this height. When the tea plants mature, only the top 1 or 2 inches of the plant are picked. The plucked buds are sent to the factory where they are dried, and sent to the market to be sold to us. Okay. You draw your flowchart based on that. The cured part is written twice, so you just ignore it. Don't write it twice. Okay, it will come only once. Dried, cured, and sent to the market. Okay, this cured will not come. Next, write a paragraph based on the information given on the different parts of speech in the web diagram. So what is your title? Parts of speech. And all the different parts of speech are given. Now here, you don't just write that there are 9 different parts of speech and the 9 different parts of speech are as follows. One is noun, adjective. You don't just write it that way. You'll write little information about each part of speech. Clear? So you can start with there are 9 different parts of speech, and uh, the first one is a noun, which is a naming word. Okay, then you can say next we have an adjective which describes a noun. Then you have a pronoun. It is a word which is used instead of a noun. Clear? Then you have a preposition. It tells you the connection between the noun and the position where or a verb. Then you have a conjunction, which is a joining word. It joins two words, two phrases, two sentences. Then interjection it expresses shock or sudden feelings. No need writing shock, it expresses sudden feelings. If you want, you can say like shock, happiness, okay, sadness. Then you say adverb. Then you go to verb. Verb is a verb that describes action, basically describes action. And then you will say an adverb, describes the action or describes the verb. Clear? Okay. Now we go to this demo. I'm not very sure. Okay. So this much I've given you homework. So do it and do it properly. If you have any doubts, you can call me.